Okay, today we're gonna talk about beer. Actually, strike that. Not beer. It's got beer in it, but it's not beer. You would want to call it beer, but it's not exactly beer. That's why it's not called beer. It's called Shandygaff. So let's talk about that. It's kind of a popular drink in certain parts of Europe and other parts of the world too. Just that it has different names. So, but for the sake of reference and to make it easier for the topic on this episode, we'll just call it Shandy, which is also its colloquial short and sweet name. And we'll also call this Shandy Gaff or Radler. Actually, Radler is its name in Germany, and that's a more potent sort of a shandy. We'll talk about that in a bit. All right, let's get started.
This is the Sundeep Show.
To start off with, shandy is not a complicated drink. I mean, it's the kind of drink where you have some leftover beer in the fridge that you couldn't finish the previous night. You take what's left and you mix a little bit of what's left. And this what's left, I'm talking about something non-beer, like cider, ginger ale, a lemonade, something like that. So you mix that with your leftover beer. Or if it's not leftover, you can actually take some part of beer from your bottle of beer and mix that with some part of lemonade from your bottle of lemonade. And there you have it. Shandygaff or Shandy or Radler. It's still got a few more names to it. We'll talk about that in a bit. If you're looking at the origin of where this funny sounding name came from, well, it's a London slang. It actually means a pint of beer. I actually came across this recently. A pint of beer was called a shant of Gatta. Shanty translates to pub, and Gatta translates to water. So this Shandy Gaff is actually a watered down version of beer, pub water. It's not exactly water, it's not exactly beer. So this is for people who do not want to have beer to get too heady. At the same time, they don't want to have water because water is boring. So what do? You mix a little bit of the non-beer stuff, the non-heady stuff, with a little bit of the heady stuff, the beer, and then you get pub water. It's got a little flavor in it because it's got ginger ale, cider, lemonade. And different people in different parts of the world mix it in certain different ways. So depending on where you are, Shandygaff has a few different names. I think that's what happens when you are fond of something. You have different names for that one thing because it's so customized. It's so unique to your preferences. You no longer carry or bear the burden of the obligation to call it by a specific name. You can have your own rendition to it and call it whatever the hell you want. That's the beauty of it. I think that's where Shandy takes home a point.
You're listening to the Sundeep Show.
Anyway, this Shandy was not a drink that the upper class used to have. And even if they had it, there were no reports of it. I think people were embarrassed to drink this kind of stuff because it was not beer. It was not just clean, pure water. It's a mix. It's the kind of stuff that you have when you have not adequate money for beer. At the same time, you got a rogue tongue where you're not okay with just drinking water. So this was a big hit with the cyclists, writers, and the bourgeois, the lower class, the middle class. They were happy about drinking this and they were in fact crazy about it. Now, let's talk about the alcohol strength. You have to understand that beer by itself is not a serious drink. It's got a pretty low amount of alcohol compared to your gin, vodka, scotch. So yeah, it's a casual drink. And this Shandygaff is taking that casualness up a notch. The alcohol percentage in shandy depends on how you're making it and how you're mixing it. So, typically it's about 50% beer and 50% of your non-beer stuff, which is going to be your ginger ale or lemonade, cider, or even plain soda. This way, you're actually cutting your alcohol amount by half. I mean, it's already a low alcohol content drink, beer, that is. And when you do a shandy out of it, you're going to end up with a drink that will have significantly or lesser alcohol content than your typical beer. That's it. People tend to go crazy because it's a very customizable, versatile drink. Remember I told you something about Radler? Well, this is a German variation of Shandy. And here, Radler is a headier version of Shandy because it's made with lager and lemonade or grapefruit soda. And this will have a higher alcohol content as the fruit juice in it will have natural sugar, and that increases the alcohol content. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have something called as the rock shandy. It's pretty much a non-alcohol version of shandy because it's made with non-beer, as in non-alcohol beer. I'm not even sure if it qualifies to be under this shandy umbrella, because if you're gonna make something without any beer in it, I mean non-alcohol beer, and it's kind of a non-beer, non-shandy, I'm not even sure why it even wants to be part of the whole beer or the whole shandy. I think it should be put in a different bracket. At least that's just the way I feel. Again, you might be wondering who's crazy enough to have this drink. It's not beer. It's not just the other kind of stuff, which is the cider or lemonade, and you're mixing two of them. But, I mean, the tongue wants what it wants, right? If you look at it, it's some sort of an experiment, And it does taste good. There is a reason why people take to it. The kind of people who take to it are, someone who doesn't want to have beer because that's going to give you a good, decent buzz. And if you don't want that kind of buzz, you could pick a bottle of shandy, and that's going to keep you going, nicely floaty, and that's good, and that works. It's also reported to have fewer calories than your typical beer. I don't agree with that, mainly because shandy has to be made with lemonade or ginger ale or cider, and these things come with their own baggage, and they add density and calories to your regular beer. In your regular beer, you're going to be just having a beer, but with shandy, you're going to be having all these other extras, and therefore they're going to increase the weight of that in terms of calories. I feel you could do without it. I'm not even sure how it's reported to be a low calorie alternative to beer, because the way I look at it, it's got a lot more calories than your regular average Joe beer. So I would not have it in any case, but that's what I'm thinking. But maybe if you're saying that the lemonade that you're using doesn't have any sugar in it, or the cider that you're using is thoughtfully made and careful to not have too many unwanted calories, then maybe, yeah, why not? but you still have something like ginger ale that does have calories, right? Anyway, who knows? You might have a product that might come up or that's already there in the market that is pretty much low calorie. When you mix that in a beer, you're gonna have just a few additional calories along with your beer's calories, and I think that's okay. Today, a shandy drink is a good place in the market because of all the craft beer movement that is taking place. So, just last year, the craft beer market was at 89 US billion dollars. That's a good amount. That's a good number. Okay, let's look at a few established out there variations of your Shandygaff. The first, we have the classic shandy. This one is made with lemonade. You have your regular beer, you mix that with lemonade or ginger beer or even ginger ale, and there you have it. Classic shandy. Very easy to make, no need to break your head, and doesn't have to break the bank. And the next, we have the Radler. We discussed this. This is a German variation of your shandy. This is made with lager or pilsner beer, sometimes also citrus flavored soda. They also add lemon or grapefruit to the beer. This is crazy in Germany, and they drink it during hot summer times. So if that was the German version, the French also have their own version. It's called panache. This one's not too different, just a different name, I feel. Well, you still have to mix your lemonade to this or your lemon flavored soda to get panache. And yeah, they do drink this during their summer times. The next seems or sounds a bit poisonous, but alcohol is sort of a poison, right? I mean, that's what you're saying. What's your poison? Anyway, the next one is called snake bite. Yeah, so this is where you add a little bit of lager, a little bit of cider, and yeah, you have your snake bite. But as the name suggests, it's a more potent, headier version than your panache or your radler or even your classic shandy. So this one's got a little bit of punch to it. Why is that? Because you add lager and cider to it. And it's quite popular in the UK. Yeah, and it's also called a few different names, but the common name for this one is snakebite. Okay, the next one seems a bit racist and a little sunburnt as well, because it's called black and tan.
This is the Sundeep Show.
If you look at it, it's not exactly a Shandygaff. It's blend between two different types of beer. So one is when you add pale ale or lager, and sometimes some people add stout or porter. So when you do this, you kind of get a layered effect, and I think that's why you have the name black and tan. All right, we have the last one, I think, in this list. It's called cider shandy. It's simple, just what the name suggests. It's a mix of cider, a mix of beer, and there you have it, cider shandy. Simple. Okay, as you can tell, when something is a mix of something and a mix of something else, it's not gonna get all the love in the world. Shandygaff is not exactly a revered or a beloved drink. I mean, you have people who love beer and people who just don't enjoy beer. But Shandygaff has some negative flack, especially by traditionalists. You know, people who love their beer, people who want to tell you, hey, beer is beer. Beer has a certain benchmark to it, and you can't call it beer. If you want to be called something else, be called something else. I think that's what Shandygaff is doing. It's not calling itself beer, but some people are still offended by the fact that you're mixing something non-alcoholic to your beer and making a shitty cocktail out of it. They feel that you're not supposed to make cocktails out of beers. That's just not right. If you ask me, I personally wouldn't drink a shandy because, I would like to know what kind of calories my beverage has. And when you mix two little things together, one beer and one something else, I don't think I will be able to see what I'm drinking in terms of the calorific value in it. And I would like to know, okay, when I drink this beer, I'm going to have this 5% of alcohol content in it. And 5% high is what I can expect. I know you do have a lot of branded shandies in the market today that are putting out exactly the amount of alcohol that the drink would have. But it's still polluted for me. I would like to drink beer for beer. Besides, I have never been a cocktail person. If I want to have whiskey, I just have whiskey. I don't even like to mix water in it. I mean, that's just the way I do it. So, anyway. Do you ever see Stone Cold Steve Austin drinking shandy? I mean, this dude loves beer so much that he's literally said fuck you to people who have told him, or rather, who have commented that this guy doesn't know how to drink beer. So he's literally told these purists or these beer traditionalists, you know what, dude? You don't know what the fuck you're saying because you don't know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to entertain people. If I'm gonna just open 2 cans of beer and drink it gentlemanly, where's the fun in that? Where is the bloody entertainment value in that? I'm trying to entertain 80,000 people, and that cannot happen if I just open 2 cans of beer like a nun and then consume it. Nope, I gotta pour it all over my face. And besides, if I ended up drinking all that beer, I wouldn't be able to stand and I wouldn't be able to perform. I'm there entertaining. So, yeah, I mean, Steve Austin is a classic beer dude. So what if there are some beer Karens out there who told him, hey, this is not the way you drink your beer? For crying out loud, this dude has his own beer range. It's called Steve Austin's Broken Skull beer. That is such a satisfying name. It's almost as satisfying as the sound you hear when you pop open a cool, chilled can of beer. Anyway, Shandygaff has its place in popular culture. Charles Dickens called it the perfect alliance between beer and pop. And in the music scene, there was a song by the British folk band, it's a rock band, called Fairport Convention. And the song was released in 1970. It's a song about a man who drinks Shandygaff to cope with his troubles and regrets in life. I mean, if this guy was drinking Shandygaff to get over his life troubles, I do feel sorry for him. Anyway, I think that's all we have for today. Shandygaff is a good drink for people who enjoy it and those who hate the system of the Shandygaff. Just look at people who enjoy Shandygaff and hold your peace kind of forever. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sundeep August. This is the Sundeep August Show. I do have to admit, this Shandygaff has got a nice, hooky, catchy name like that. Boaty, like boatface. Anyway, I'll see you around. Thank you.
This is the Sundeep Show.